Welcome back to Swiss Watch Expo. This is Taking Time with Richard and
Jonathan.
And today, as promised, 5 weeks in, this is our second one. We're going to do a debate. Stick around, we're going to tell you about it. Okay, welcome back. So as promised, we're 5 weeks out from the last one, and we're going to do another debate piece. And so the parameters we set this time were
$15,000
or
more.
Or more.
Yeah.
Luxury time, luxury timepieces.
High-end stuff.
High-end, yeah. And I've chosen the Sky Dweller, and you've got
Vacheron Constantin, overseas, dual time.
That's a mouthful. mine's just Rolex Sky Dweller. That's all.
Oh,
No,
well.
So we're
We'll go into that in just a second.
right. So we're gonna break it down into 4 categories, just like we did last time: the heritage, the aesthetics, the movement, functionality, and we're just gonna compare the two of them between those 2 different things. So which one are we gonna start with?
Let's go with the aesthetics.
Okay, perfect. All right, you go first.
All right, mine just looks better.
That's it. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, I disagree, but it does look good. It's a gorgeous watch.
How do you disagree that mine looks better than a 42 millimeter Datejust?
Because it's my job. It's my job to tell you mine looked better than yours. I will admit that you're right. That's exactly what this is. It's just an oversized Datejust in terms of cosmetics. It is pretty though. It's really pretty.
It's gold.
It is gold. It shines. It's a gorgeous piece. But it is. For all intents and purposes, it really is just an oversized Datejust in terms of cosmetics, aside from the dial display. But we'll get into that a little bit more.
Everything on mine's handmade.
That's true. Rolex doesn't really do that, but they're really good at making watches. I will admit that the case design on the Overseas is just a phenomenal. It's just a phenomenal look. The character that they put into it and all the history that goes into the, they've got the Maltese cross and like 7 different components of the watch. It's just a beautiful watch.
Talking about my watch for me.
I do. I'm selling
Speaks for itself.
But the one thing I don't like about it is I feel like as this watch ages, it's going to be more difficult to polish and keep these lines as crisp as they are now. They look great now, but 50 years down the road,
if I own something like this, like me being me, I'm not going to polish this. You'd have to send it to Vacheron to get it polished.
And if you send it to anyone else, you might be crazy. Unless you're sending it to us to have it fixed.
Yeah, that's true.
Other than that.
But yeah, to have it fixed. Polish-wise, I mean, yeah, we could do that. I think it would take us a while because it's hand polished.
It is hand polished. And you got to remove every single link to polish it correctly. So it doesn't fully disassemble unlike all the others.
It's going to take a little while.
It is going to take a
We
while.
do things very quickly. It's just handmade stuff.
Right. I do like the blue. Who doesn't love the blue? A little electric-y for me. I think I would like maybe a little more subtle blue. I do like the idea that it does have that electricity.
Personally, we don't have the dial that I prefer. I prefer the black dial.
I figured as much. Yeah. I figured as much. I like it too. It's just, the one thing aesthetically that I think that doesn't make sense to me is it has the AM, PM indicator. Not that that's wrong, but who needs to know if it's AM or PM?
Well, that's for the GMT.
Well, I know, but still.
I mean, if you're going to track a second time zone.
Right, all right. Well, mine's still beautiful. It does come in Rolex Everose gold. It has the chocolate brown motif. In terms of beautifulness,
where's the GMT?
It's in this small circle right in the center here. So that's actually what's showing your GMT function.
Where's the annual calendar?
It's the whole thing, and we'll get into that when we get into the actual movement and the functions. But generally speaking, in terms of if you don't know, this is an annual calendar GMT. And to add all that stuff into a watch typically gets you about 3 or 4 separate subdials and a whole bunch of buttons that you got to press in order to get that all lined up. In this case, you get the sleek, very sleek design. It's got tons of functionality in it, but you don't have all the busyness that you typically get with an annual calendar on the dial. So I think it's beautiful just because you can look down on it. It's very readable. Even with all those functions, it's just an absolutely beautiful piece. And it's not so busy that it doesn't make any sense. Plus, I just love the chocolate brown. I'd probably put this on a brown strap. Right now, we've got it on a black strap. But who doesn't love an Everose gold watch?
I don't.
Oh, well, I do.
My girlfriend does, but I don't like rose gold. I prefer platinum and white gold.
Oh, okay.
Stealth wealth.
No, right. All right, so let's do movement.
Okay.
Where are you at with yours?
It's got 60 hours power reserve. Let's see here. It's dual time. So it's like a GMT like yours. It's got the date with the extra pusher.
Right.
So it makes it quick set, easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do like that. I do like that.
Completely handmade again.
I'm just going to keep rubbing that in because Rolex is not handmade.
Yeah. It's got the Geneva stamp for, being like not just made in Geneva, but it has the Geneva seal on it, which, can only be given to those that have a consecutive quality control that essentially, they do things by hand and they finish it to a certain quality by hand.
Right.
And they have to have the Geneva striping in all their movements.
Oh, okay. Well,
and did you know that Geneva striping is actually different levels? Like the stripes are actually different levels, and they all have to be within a certain micrometer exact. Yeah, they have to be like the elevations have to be literally like within, I forget what the dimensions are exactly, but it's
accuracy.
Yeah, I mean it's very minute, but yeah, they have to do that by hand.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
I mean,
learned something new.
Throwing the by hand stuff aside, I mean I find that very crazy.
I think that really adds to the essence of the prestige that goes into these higher end watches versus what you see from might consider to be aspiring watchmakers that want to get to that level. That level of consistency, that level of accuracy is really what separates them. And it may not be a big margin for a lot of people, but that's really what makes them better than most. For me, I've got the 9001 movement, and it has a 72-hour power reserve. And of course, it also has 12
hours.
I mean, but 12 hours is a long time. It's half a day, Plus, it's a Rolex, so this thing's extremely efficient. And the arbor weight in this thing's just winding it constantly. If you were to wear this watch every day, you'd never have to set it again, for the most part, until leap year, generally speaking. And so that really makes, to me,
that kind of
makes
a headache, though.
It does, but man, look at it. Okay, the cool thing that I like about this is, again, going back to the aesthetics of the dial, but also the functionality of it. In this case, the movement. What it does is it will tell you the day of the month that you're on, the day that you're on, and then also tell you the time, and then also tell you what the time zone is in another part of the world. So the movement has 4 different complications in it that just really, really kick your watch's butt.
How?
Because it has so much more. You got the GMT, you got the
dual
function.
It's taken Rolex,
a long time to get to this
80
level.
years to come up with literally the most complicated
watch they've ever made.
And it's in a Datejust case.
Look, I agree with that. But it is, again, now I would consider this the quintessential high horology movement. I really would. I'd put this up with any other watchmaker, any other manufacturer.
You know what horology indicates?
Yes. But the way...
I'm waiting.
Well, but the functionality of it is just so amazing. The amount of movement, they've managed to get this watch down to about 320 parts or so. So for all the functionality of it, it really doesn't have that many pieces comparatively.
Is it more jewels than actual metal?
Well, it's got 40 jewels.
Jesus.
Yours has 37. So if we're going up in value, I got 40 jewels, you have 37. God. Yeah, but
that's a lot.
What's a lot to put in a watch? And it's got all that. And I think I still think I win because mine has more functionality than yours does.
Yeah, but I mean,
so why don't we go into functionality since we're kind of leaning into it anyway?
We're done with aesthetics, but we've got a gold rotor.
You do have a gold rotor. Well, I have a gold watch.
That's hand engraved.
But I have a gold watch.
Okay. I don't have to look at the gold if I don't want to.
True. Let's go into functionality of it then. So, obviously the GMTs, they both GMTs.
Yeah. Quick set date.
Right.
150 meters of water resistance.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to use a tool to do this, but I don't have to.
Wait a second. Let me see. I think so, yeah.
Essentially, I can replace the straps.
Is that a fact? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
You've got the old school way of thinking.
Well.
I've got the modern way of doing things.
But
it's 2021.
That's
all right.
True.
Get with the times, Datejust.
And not yet. Hey, buddy. I'm fighting words. Yeah, you're kind of right about that. It does have it doesn't have that really cool capabilities of being able to swap out. But I mean, you're not going to put a whole lot of variation of different colors or anything like that on this way. Anyway, you don't really want to have this on a metal band anyway, do you?
Well,
I just put it on another strap.
Of course, it comes
Jubilee
or Oyster.
Oh, The Datejust. Right. No, we actually have several of those in stock. I almost thought about pulling the white dial one because I really do like that one. But then it looked even more like a Datejust, and I thought you would just fight me harder with it. So I pulled the gold. I did pull the gold motif. In terms of functionality of this one, I mean, you do get the adjustment of clasp, so you can make it fit just right. The one con I might say is that this is a more complex watch to set, so you do have to kind of go to your thinking box a little bit harder than you would if you were just going to set a watch that's very standard. This one's very easy, but because it does have that dual capability.
Does that have hacking?
It is a hacking. Yours is not hacking, right?
No.
Yeah, mine's a hacking.
No.
Yeah.
But I mean, whenever you have this kind of watch,
you don't ever want it to stop so you can calibrate it. Oh, okay. I want my watch to stop so I can.
If you're gonna have this kind of a watch, it's like, what do you care to be exact?
Well, yeah, it's a cost. You were just talking about it. It's Geneva stamped for timekeeping capabilities and precision, and I'd want it to be more precise by setting it to the world clock exactly. And now I can do that.
COSC certified, but
you're right.
It's cost quality.
It's cost quality and then some. Well, likewise, this one is too. So this is -2 +2. So this is Rolex standards. I mean, you couldn't ask for a watch to keep better time in terms of mechanical movements.
Rolex is so superlative.
Right.
Chronometer. Essentially, so I do like and appreciate that Rolex, so they'll send their movements to get chronometer certified.
Right.
And then they do their own testing on top of that, like Omega does with the Mentos certification, where they continue to test it in their own way.
Right.
I think they do like
it meets the higher level of standards.
3 extra tests on it or something like that.
Right. And this
I do like that.
And this one's tested inside the case too. So it's master chronometer, meaning it's not the movement that's cost certified. The movement itself inside the case is also cost certified because you get a different reading inside the case. So it's master chronometer certified.
Harmonics and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's just, again, you get, like I said, I know that I don't know if you guys are the same way I am. I get to month 3. I know March is month 3, but I can't tell you what August is. And so
January, February, March.
the way this is laid out on the dial, I now know that we're in September 1st. That's the 9th month of the year.
Hey, it's my birthday. And
we're walking
11 days.
Is it? Oh, well, happy early belated. I guess I'll tell you next week because we got a while.
Yeah.
But it does tell you what day. What month or the number month we're on, and I just like that for me.
I know what month it is because it's my birthday month.
Well, of course you're not going to forget that then. So let's go into heritage.
So I've got 250 years. Longest running consecutive watch brand.
Well, it's pouring salt in the wound, I think, really, with that, because I don't have the same heritage at all. Especially with like Rolex being a complex watchmaker. They've come up with some great innovations. They've done some really wonderful things throughout their lifetime. Yeah. But, we've talked about it before. A lot of other companies are really pioneering all the innovations. And then Rolex kind of picks up on that and does kind of, creates their own innovation of it as well and improves it. And that's what they're really good at doing. This is the first time I've really seen them kind of step out of what they might consider to be their comfort zone and really walk into a watch that's very complex. And, but that being said, this piece wasn't available before 2012. Rolex has not been around nearly as long as Vacheron. But I would argue to say this, even though it doesn't have the heritage that Vacheron does, I would say that Rolex may be the single largest influencer of the watch world in the history of watches.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I could be wrong. Let us know what you think. I don't know. I could be wrong.
As far as like creating the biggest stir in the watch industry because of just their association with, the individual making it, and they want to go buy a Rolex because Hans Wilsdorf created the name to be able to be spoken in every language kind of thing. I mean, I don't think that they influence. I think they make a big buzz. Yes.
Agreed.
But as far as influence, I don't know.
I think even Vacheron being one of the greatest watchmakers in the world, the longest standing history, a lot of people don't know the name. A lot of people don't know the name. But you can say that if you know nothing about watches, generally speaking, you've heard Rolex.
Well, obviously.
It's kind of like McDonald's. Yeah. It's all over the world. And, just because you know Rolex, you start looking for a Rolex. And because you're like, hey, I want a Rolex because everybody's talking about a Rolex. Other brands get to take advantage of that exposure that Rolex has. And then they get to be exposed to watches that they wouldn't normally be exposed to. So that's why I think that even though it lacks the heritage, eventually Rolex may actually have the greatest heritage ever in 100 years from now. That's just my guess. It's possible.
I mean, I'm not saying that
probability is higher than zero.
Vacheron has a spectacular history because they've mostly gone unknown, and unlike the other two in the Holy Trinity, you know, AP and Patek, they actually got bought out by I think it was Chinese-based company, Asian-based company for a while. Their Generation 2 line was not well, I guess, accepted. They came back after they were bought out with Richemont, essentially with the Gen 3, which is aesthetically, I think, the best looking model. I agree. But, I mean, overall, I think the history is there as far as, you know, the quality has remained the same. They have the same standards as the other two. Yeah, and the overseas is really picking up steam in the last few years as far as getting on the same level as far as popularity for, you know, the 5711, the Royal Oak. I think it looks better. You know, it's got better water resistance. It's anti-magnetic. Right. It's well, I mean, as far as this compared to those. Right. You know, like people are just like, oh, Patek is the best. Right. You know,
subjective. It's subjective.
Exactly. So, I mean, in my personal opinion, I believe that, you know, Vacheron, that mixed with just the history, the aesthetics, the functionality, you know, it's just Rolex isn't going to be able to compete with, because it's two different universes. It's not just two different worlds. This has a long-standing history of, you know, people that spend months making this. Right. They're honestly the kings of the Industrial Revolution for watchmaking.
Well, I've heard from many watchmakers that part of the genius with Rolex is that they're very simple in design in reality. So a lot of people can work on it. If you're producing more watches than anyone in the world, you need more watchmakers to fix it. So it makes sense that they're making a watch that's very capable of being fixed by even a beginner watchmaker. So that makes sense. And I think that's the genius of it, because this watch will last for a daggum eternity.
So will mine.
True, but
yeah, I mean, my entire history in the watch industry, I've only seen like one or two Vacherons come in. Yeah. You know how many Rolexes I've seen come in?
Tons. Well, they make a lot of them. They make a lot of them.
Not tons. Oh. Not to bash Rolex at all, but I mean, definitely. I mean, because they produce more watches, so the probability of something coming in for service is just higher. But anyways, that aside, they still make phenomenal watches. Right. You know, they do.
It's both are great pieces. Both really are great pieces. Like I don't think you can go wrong with either one of these. And yeah. So you guys let us know what you guys think. I think we're going to close out here. And you guys let us know what you guys think. If you were to pick a watch above $15,000, what would your choice be? And you know, let us know. And get with us. Like, subscribe, comment, do all the jazz. Put Penny in the comments. You know, that's always a thing.
Even though she refuses to come on.
Oh, we'll get her on here. Don't you worry. We'll get her on. All right, check us out next time on Taking Time.